Hi, BC Cloutier here. We've got some exciting news for you. On October 19th, at the Naples Grand Beach Resort, Action for Life presents Jim Caviezel live and in person.
Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
The star of Sound of Freedom will be here in Naples, telling us all about the filming of the movie and the real-life experiences of Special Agent Tim Ballard.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Please join us for a lovely evening with dinner and beverages at the Naples Grand Beach Resort on Thursday, October 19th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Get tickets at actionforlife.org/events.
Hi, I'm Father Michael Orsi. I'm your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program, which talks to you about the big G for the gospel of Jesus Christ and little g, all the good things that people do to put that gospel of life into action. Hey, folks, we've been hearing a lot about the unfortunate situation in Hawaii and Maui, and we have a guest today. Well, he's in Hawaii right now, and he tells me that he is looking over the beautiful Pacific Ocean, and, he is an expert on the ocean. You know why? He is a world champion surfer. How's that? World champion surfer. But he is also a guest host on EWTN, Eternal Word Television Network. And you know what, folks? He's written a book, which is, it's timely. It's timely. It's called The 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone? And so our guest today is Bear Woznick. And if you have a name like Bear, you must be like a He-Man or something big like that. And Bear, give us a growl. Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you something, Bear.
I do growl sometimes. You
growl. I do too. My name, translated from the Italian, is Bears. So we have two bears.
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Two bears on the show today. And, this is a topic, folks. We have to talk about it. Manliness. It's one of those things. We're kind of losing it. It's not very popular. They try to make little boys into little sissified girls. And all those things that we consider, manly, strength and power and courage and fortitude and, standing up for right and wrong and being the head of a family. All of those things are kind of like, no good anymore. That's kind of like a no-no. You have to be kind of like namby-pamby, and you can't really be a man anymore. So we're going to have the Bear tell us about his book. Bear, obviously you saw a problem here. That's why you wrote the book, right?
Right. I'll tell you, living here in Hawaii. Oh, by the way, can I tell you something about Maui for a moment?
Yeah, tell us about Maui.
Maui, the Lahaina was such a beautiful, historic, special town. And my dad was actually a Catholic deacon there at the Catholic Church in Lahaina. Maria Lanakila Catholic Church. It means Mary Our Lady of Victory Church. And some may have heard that, the whole town is gone. But that church is standing.
Amazing, huh? It's a miracle.
Is gone. But the church, where the Eucharist is, remains standing. And so it's a miracle, undoubtedly, because there's ashes everywhere around it. And they had held church services there, mass there, just a few days after the fire. And so just to let everybody know that our hope is in the Lord.
Yep, that's true. That's true. God gave us a sign. He's there in Maui. The roughest of times, the worst of times. God is present, and the standing church is a sign of God being present in Maui. And it will rebuild, folks. It will rebuild. And for all the aid that you folks are giving out there to help the people of Maui, keep up your good work. Keep up your good work. Okay, Bear, tell us about why did you write this book about the 12 rules of manliness?
Well, it's my wife's fault. We were driving along Diamond Head about two and a half years ago, and she said, you got to listen to this song. And it's a song by Paula Cole that basically is, the title is Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Where's my John Wayne? Where are my happy endings? You work, I'll raise the kids, are basically the song. And what we're finding is I talk a lot to men's conferences. By the way, I'd love to speak to some non-denominational or Protestant events too. But I speak to a lot of mixed groups also. And when we show up at like a theology on tap, where the students get together for pizza, talk about the Lord, or a big gala for a radio station, before we can get out of my car, there's a half a dozen to a dozen women surrounding us, and they're all telling us the same thing wherever we go. My wife and I, she joins me, tell the men we need for them to be men again. Stop apologizing for being a man. That's why I didn't call it 12 Rules for Masculinity or the masculine genius or anything like that. I just called it the most provoking word that I could. It's manliness. And I found out, I'm taking my Latin, and I know you know this, but I found out the other day that the word ver, of course, is for man, which of course is the root word of virtue. So to be a virtuous man is the essence of manliness. And in my ministry, the website's deepadventure.com, I've written books on the virtues and others like that to challenge men, to encourage men to be men of virtue. There's nothing more heroic than to live a life of virtue, and the world needs men now more than ever.
So what about the virtues? What virtues you say 12 rules? Are they 12 different virtues? What are they?
Well, no, I've written a book called Deep Adventure: The Way of Heroic Virtue, on the 7 virtues, justice, self-mastery, prudence, coraggio, fortitude, and the theological virtues of faith, hope, and love. But these are just kind of like a father writing to a son. I'm a Benedictine Oblate. I love the rules, the rules of Saint Benedict.
Folks, St. Benedict, he's the father of Western monasticism, and he goes way back to like the 5th century. And
yes.
We still have people who follow the rule of Benedict today in Benedictine monasteries, and some people who live it at home. They say, I'm going to just be a Benedictine at home. And that works. A great way to become holy.
In the world, but not of the world. That's as a Benedictine Oblate. We always talk about worship and work, and that what better way to show that than to be in, we're living in the real world here, and doing that. But there's one of my chapters says quotes John Wayne, and I quote a lot of Louis L'Amour Westerns, by the way. I love Louis L'Amour Westerns. The men were also virtuous, and by the way, the women were all strong. They sometimes found themselves in a vulnerable position, but he's one of the first writers to really show women as being strong. But in there, John Wayne quotes, I think, a Louis L'Amour Western where he says, every man's got to have a creed, a code he can live by. So to me, a creed is like a 1-sentence or 2-sentence creed. Like my creed is the most radical quest you can pursue in life is to abandon yourself to the wild adventure of God's will. But then the code is how you live that out. So I've just taken 12, there's probably 100, but almost like brother to brother or like a father to a son, very practical, mostly on the cardinal virtues, the practical virtues, but how a man today in this world, needs to live. And so one of the principles, for example, is a man needs to be dangerous. And to me, the most dangerous thing that a man could ever do is to pray the prayer that Jesus prayed on the Mount of Olives and just say, thy will be done.
Holy cow, you hear that, folks? That's dangerous. Thy will be done, because sometimes, God is going to ask you to do something. It's going to shake you up a little bit. It's going to take you out of your comfort zone. So yeah, live dangerously by trusting yourself to the Lord. Right, Bear?
You wear that Roman collar. And I know when I had the cowboy priest, Father Bryce Lundgren from Wyoming, and his brother priest, Father Joe Paddock here in Waikiki, we're walking down the streets of Waikiki, and that Roman collar, it takes courage to wear that. Some people come up and say, we love you, thank you for what you're doing. But I heard people say some of the worst things to them as we're walking down the beach in Waikiki. So we need to, as Christians, stand up and be counted. We need to be willing to make a stand. But when you say the words, thy will be done, get ready, because that's when you get to see God do stuff. When you say your will be done, then you're in the midst of his will, and you can see God move in your lives, in the lives around you, and you can see mountains be moved and walls fall. And so, but it's dangerous. It cost Jesus everything when he said that.
Right, yeah. Remember, folks, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane prayer, but thy will be done. And holy cow, he knew what he was in for. So I guess what you're saying is, being a man means they're ready to take your lumps too. Yeah,
I'm kind of digging into that area right off the bat. There's other areas, but a man needs to be dangerous, I think, at three different levels. First, at the level of spiritual warfare, we need to be able to bless our homes, bless our families, pray for our children, pray for our community, and to be able to smell a rat, which is basically spiritual discernment of the demonic influences in our family, in our lives. We need to be able to fight at the spiritual level. And then we need to be able to fight at the moral level. We need to be able to make a stand against for Jesus, which is contrary to the woke culture. I have so many men we have this thing called the man cave in Bear School of Manliness. And I have so many men that they're in a situation where they'll say, well, we need for you to be on the Rainbow Committee this year. And when they say no, they don't get fired, but they don't get promoted anymore. And so there's a certain white martyrdom that men need to be willing to stand up and take and say, I won't do that. This is who I stand for. I stand for Jesus. People need to know what brand you ride for. And then there's just basically, men need to be able to protect themselves and their family. If someone physically assaults you, which with the way the streets are now, it's so much more dangerous, that if a man attacks you, if someone attacks you as a man, they're attacking your whole family. So you need to physically know how to defend yourself. And of course, I'm a second-degree ninja black belt, but every man needs to have an understanding of spatial awareness, how to protect his family, how to not be there in the first place when danger is there. But also when the moment comes, do you have the physical stamina to last 2 minutes to protect yourself and your family? So we talk about in that manliness area. This is the sort of thing you want to hear women talk about. This is the sort of thing men talk about, and maybe they feel maybe they shouldn't. Turning the other cheek is one thing, but you've only got two cheeks. And so you've got to be. And Jesus was dangerous, Father. You know that when he walked into with the whip and cracked that whip, it sent people flying. He tumbled over those tables. So we don't need this macho stuff, but we need men to make a stand and be there and be aware and protect their family. As we say in Hawaii, their kuleana, their ohana, and their stewardship, what they have stewardship over. So that's just one example, one area of the book, one chapter. One of the codes is be dangerous. Okay, so folks, gentlemen especially, I suggest you get Bear's book, how to be dangerous, in a very, very good way. I mean, because it's going to be spiritual warfare. Talked about that, battling demons. And folks, they exist. Demons exist. Jesus Absolutely. Cast out demons. And he gave us tools to cast out demons too. When we say the Lord's Prayer, lead us not Amen. Into temptation, but deliver us from evil or the evil one, the demons. And at the bottom of all of the demonology is Satan himself. They're his minions seeking the ruin of souls. So that Lord's Prayer is very important. So you pray. You stand up for what's right. We hear a lot today about social justice. Let's talk about plain justice, giving a person what is their due. Not what somebody else tells you that they deserve, but what's right, to do the right thing. That's a man. Capiche? That's Italian.
Hi, I'm BC Cloutier, president of Action for Life. As you can imagine, producing this program is quite an expensive endeavor, and we would appreciate your contributions in any amount. If you'd like to support the program, please visit actionforlife.org and click on the donate button. Again, it's that simple, actionforlife.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Hey gang, I know a lot of you sometimes can't watch all of our episodes of Action for Life, However, we have a solution for that. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search for Action for Life Florida. And you can catch up on all the shows, and guess what? Extra added bonus, you get to hear my weekly homily. So, YouTube and you make a fine couple. Now, Bear just talked to us about men should live dangerously, but you got to put that in the correct context. And there are other points that the Bear wants us to think about, and maybe pass these hints on to our sons, nephews, people that we coach, the kids in school, the boys in school, because boys are getting a short shrift these days. As I said, manliness is not something that people want to hear about anymore. They want everybody to be the same, and that means wishy-washy. Okay, so Bear, what else do you have for us?
Well, one of my favorite chapters is how a man treats a woman defines him. Does a man treat a woman with dignity? I know I bumped into, kind of got reacquainted with some friends, during the initial stages of Facebook. He found me. I hadn't talked to him in years, since college. And he said, one of the things he remembered about me was how I respected women. And I guess I had 3 sisters, so I learned a lot about that. But how you treat a woman, even if it's just in conversation with men know they can't talk about women like that around, in that terrible way around. How you treat your future wife, young men, by not having relations before marriage with other women. Do you treat a woman with dignity when you're looking at pornography?
Ooh, so hey, folks, listen, pay attention. Pay attention. You're running around before you get married. You're really respecting women. You're using them, and that's going to follow. It'll follow through, folks. It follows through. You get used to something like that. Boy, oh boy, the old habits are hard to break. So. Continue, Bear.
It infects your soul, and there's a shamefulness that goes with that. And John Paul II taught us that women are to be the subject of our love, not the object of a lust. And one of the things he said too is that the problem with pornography is that it shows too little of the woman, not too much. In other words, it doesn't show her heart. You're not looking at who she is as an individual. So men need to fight that battle, and I know that. And they need to win it. And they may need the encouragement of other men to do so. But they have to win the battle against pornography. They got to get done with this sweep right, sweep left, or whatever that is, the one-night stand type situation. It used to be that women had a social contract with each other. We won't have sex before marriage. But that was broken around the time that Paul wrote Humanae Vitae, which was, it used to be the classic Christian way for Protestants and Catholics was no contraception, and of course no abortion. But when the pill came out, all of a sudden women became that object that were objectified, and women were like, I felt this pressure, a man falsely lying and saying, if you love me, you would have sex with me. The other thing is that how a man treats a woman. I would say that I think that 80% of abortions, or maybe more, would be eliminated if the man didn't say these words, oh, whatever you do, I'll support you, which is basically BS. It's a coward saying to her, this guy's wishy-washy. I can't count on him. He's not going to be there for me. If a man, whether it's that woman's father or an uncle or a friend or the man who impregnated her, would say, I'm going to stand with you. We'll get this. Maybe we have this child together, or maybe I'll raise the child, or maybe the baby's put up for adoption. But men not treating women with dignity and not standing by them when they're strong women in the most vulnerable place and a vulnerable child. We need men to man up, and you as a priest, you treat you're the bride of Christ with dignity. How you treat the church. So all men are called to treat women with dignity.
Let me just talk to folks here a minute about this. The Bear mentioned Humanae Vitae. For a lot of you, you're not Catholic, and some of you who are Catholic never heard of this encyclical. Encyclical is a letter that the Pope sends around to the bishops, and it gives guidance. And this was in 1968. Paul VI put out this encyclical called Humanae Vitae, and it basically said that contraception is contrary to God's law. Now, it was never very popular. Believe me, I was around in college in those days, and it was not popular at all. A lot of priests rejected it and passed on their negative attitude to their people. However, I would contend that with contraception, abortion became more and more prevalent, and sin exponentially increased. I would suggest, whether you're Catholic or non-Catholic, whatever you are, take a look at Humanae Vitae. It means of human life by Paul VI in 1968. It makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the social evils that we have today are related to contraception. Of course, these days, you can't say this. The politicians are saying, stay away, don't talk about contraception. Don't talk too much about abortion anymore either. And what do? You bury the truth, because a lot of our society ills come from contraception and abortion, which is the ultimate disrespect for a woman. Bear, am I right, Bear? You bet I am.
Protestant brothers and sisters who I love. I went to Baylor University. It was my Southern Baptist friends that prayed for me, and so I have a great love for I had a great love for my Christian friends, my Southern Baptist friends in particular, and the non-denominational friends and everyone else too. But you know what? My Protestant friends know who Moloch is. They know who Baal is, right? The god of death, the god who had female priests, basically temple prostitutes, having sex, because of the dying and rising, the corn king, as C.S. Lewis called him, the infertility god, Baal and Moloch. That's what we do when we don't have contraception. We're having sex at Moloch's shrine. And who is the god of abortion but Baal and Moloch, because they sacrifice their children to this god? And so we as Christians, Catholics, non-Catholic Christians, we need to come together. We need to stand together now in all of this. But men, treat your women with dignity. Cherish them. My wife is so beautiful, so wise, so full of grace. How do I treat her with dignity? Well, almost every day she gets a flower. I know it seems like a small thing, but I go out and I get a plumeria, or better yet, the hibiscus, which is a one-day flower. It only lasts for one day on the bush. So when it's there, if you don't pick it that day, it'll be gone tomorrow. It's kind of like the manna in the wilderness. We need to show our women tenderness and show that we cherish them, and do the small hidden things they don't even know that we're doing for them. We need to protect them and provide for them. I had a man tell me the other day, well, my wife, she built up these credit cards I didn't even know anything about. And I go, well, what about that $70,000 pickup you drive as a technician? Not as, you don't need it for your work. You're just driving this really expensive car. Well, he says, I think my wife should be equal partners with me. And I go, no, you should be the provider. You take care of her. If she wants to bring money in, the reason why she ran up those bills is because you're not taking care of her. That's what I told her. I'm not saying that. I'm so happy for women with their newfound freedom. And I have a daughter, and I want to support that. But man, the bottom line is, when push comes to shove, you need to be there to protect and provide for your family.
Hear that? Look, a lot of people don't want to even hear this anymore. The man is the provider. He is the captain of the ship. He's responsible to take care of his wife and his family and make sure that he is able to provide them with food, shelter, and clothing, and a sense of security that, he's going to take good care of them physically, mentally, and spiritually. Okay. Manliness, live dangerously, do God's will. Number 2.
Well, I was going to say that I love that you use that illustration, captain of the ship. My wife and I are both certified sailing captains.
Uh-huh.
And when she's sailing, I'm responsive to her. I'm her first mate. I do when she's at the helm. My kuleana is to be responsive to her, and vice versa. She has a great strength and wisdom and power. But ultimately, when push comes to shove, it's going to be me that has to take care of business with that boat. But when we tandem surf, my world championship is when I lift her when we surf in very extreme lifts, like overhead. She's doing handstands in my arms, or I'm holding her up in my hands, or she's doing these beautiful, beautiful lifts. I tell the women when I teach people tandem surfing, I say, you're the captain of the ship as the man. You're going to choose the wave. You're the one connected to the surfboard. Your job is to protect her and inspire trust in her. Well, my wife doesn't trust me. Well, do you inspire trust in her? Our job is to inspire trust. So my job when I first started tandem surfing with Cindy, it was just a miracle how we met. We fell in love on a tandem surfboard. She's from Cocoa Beach, Florida. She asked me, "You have scars on your back. Did you have surgery?" No, she said, "Did you ever have surgery?" And I said, "Well, no." And then back surgery. And then she asked me a few weeks later, "Are you sure you never had back surgery?" And I go, "Well, no." And then she said, "Well, why do you have these stripes, these scars on your back?" I go, "Well, that's when a woman is in danger. If someone cuts us off or something's happening, I will pull her out of the lift and cradle her and jump off the back of the board and protect her. And I'm attached to the leash, so I'm the one who gets drugged across the reef." That's the essence of a man, is to protect and cherish that woman. And by the way, when we're tandem surfing, no one's looking at me. They're looking at this beautiful, graceful, powerful, agile woman. And so my job as a man is to display a woman's, by the way I love her, cherish her, and care for her, should be a display of my wife, a display of beauty and femininity and grace, and the grace of what a woman says. You know, as it said, a man is made out of mud, but a woman is made more highly distilled. You know, she comes from the man's rib. And so men, cherish your women. So I'm sorry, I kind of got off.
That's okay. Bear, you know, we're running out of time. I could listen to you like all day. But could you leave us with a message for the men out there today? What's your message to them?
Okay, I'll just say this. Also, you know, being a father is the greatest adventure of all. Talk about the adventure of being in God's will. Bringing a being that's going to live forever into existence is the greatest of all adventures. And so I just challenge men, you know, within your heart that you're called to be a hero. You have that instinct to be heroic. Reading this book and pursuing a life of virtue, believe me, God, the world needs you right now. The world needs men. And the way you do that is by living a life of virtue and by laying your life down for those that God has called you to serve. So we need men. And so invite people to come to deepadventure.com.
Hey, gang, you heard the Bear. I second the motion. We do need men. So pass the word along out there. Get a copy of the book and drill it into your sons. Drill it into the kids on your teams that you coach maybe. Show them how to be a man, because we need men to make the world the place God wants it to be. Hey, Bears for action. I'm for action, and I know you are too.
Hi, BC Cloutier here. We've got some exciting news for you. On October 19th at the Naples Grand Beach Resort, Action for Life presents Jim Caviezel live and in person.
Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
The star of Sound of Freedom will be here in Naples, telling us all about the filming of the movie and the real-life experiences of Special Agent Tim Ballard.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Please join us for a lovely evening with dinner and beverages at the Naples Grand Beach Resort on Thursday, October 19th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Get tickets at actionforlife.org/events.